Would this program be useful for people with little to no design experience? Does one of you want to address that?
Sure, I will. At the beginning of this course, we kind of do a really quick overview of the design principles and the tools. And I think that, in terms of the assignments that we're going to be giving, there's some flexibility given, what your skill set is. So I think in terms of, interacting with us as instructors, you can give us a heads up if you're feeling lost or if there's a limitation that you might be hitting in terms of what we're doing in the class.
Okay, and I'm going to unmute Nora, who raised her hand. Nora?
Hi, I was wondering about if you have, I saw that there's sort of like the membership discount, but I was also wondering if you have any sense of sort of where there might be scholarships coming from. I'm a freelancer and a freelance organizer, so I mean, I could ask about like grant funding, like in terms of like the grant that I'm working under right now, but I was curious about if you have like, if there's sort of like resources maybe outside SMT for getting financial support to do something like this.
Yeah, so that's a really important question. So we can't give many scholarships for this because already the rates are, we're like subsidizing this as it is, right, to keep it small and to not charge very much. There's the $400 rate is if you are affiliated in some way with an outreach partner. And so if any of the groups that you're working with are part of a network that's an SMT outreach partner, and they're all listed on our website under outreach partners, if you go under about, then if they send out a mass email about the training, then you can send that email in with your registration for the lower rate. Otherwise, if you reach out to us, I mean, what we can be helpful with is a lot of funders, really like our training, mainly because they've heard from their grantees that it's strong training. So oftentimes they have capacity building pots of money, and we're glad to help have a conversation with a funder. Like if there's a funder who's funded the work that you're involved with, and you'd like us to be in on a conversation with them to do like a dog and pony show about this training, we're glad to do that. We're also glad to be in on a conversation if you're part of a national network or a regional network or state-based network, and you'd like them to become outreach partners so that everybody can get lower rates. We're glad to be part of that kind of conversation. I'm not sure, Nora, whether that totally meets your needs, but it's probably the best we can do. And Nora's asking who you should contact, and I'm just going to put, you can contact me, and I'm putting my my email in the. Okay, so let's see. Will all sessions be recorded? Yes, everything. Well, so the presentation portions will be recorded. We want to kind of respect the, we want to create an intimate, relaxed, like engaged small group environment where people are getting and giving feedback, right? And so we don't necessarily want to, that will only be shared with those who are part of it. That's just a live experience. But we will, we're thinking right now we will record the presentation portions, and those will be available, yeah. How much time outside of class time is expected per week? Does one of you want to address that?
Sure. We're hoping that outside of the recording time of that once a week session, people can devote 2 to 4 hours. Obviously, Hannah, you mentioned in the beginning, if you're new to design, it might take a little longer. Also just flagging, I'm having anxiety. I just saw your 4% battery life. Is that you, Hannah?
Oh gosh, thank you.
And so you'll get a lot more if you can put in more time after, but I've been full-time staff at an organizing group, and it's very challenging. The other thing I'll say on this is it's pretty much skills that you'll be using for the rest of your life in terms of visual communication. So whatever you can devote is good, but if you know you can't devote a minimum of 2 hours outside of the session time, then I would consider if this would be the most helpful for you.
Yeah, if any of you want to review the questions and just respond to them, I'm trying to respond to some in writing.
Sure. There are a couple of questions around cost. I think the best way is to go to the landing page because it's written out well. It's $650 regular price, $400 for additional people from the same organization. Maybe I'll copy this link here that has that if you scroll down a little bit. And then the outreach partner affiliation is $400.
So Rachel's asking, she was wondering if you could elaborate for those who don't have access to programs such as Illustrator or Photoshop. Will that be a problem at all? Would the program be more beneficial for people who do have access to those programs?
This is Marie. I think that we're shooting for tools that are free or inexpensive. There's a lot of them out there. In the previous course I taught last year, I did a chart, and we kind of stayed away from Illustrator and Photoshop and focused more on tools like Canva. So if you have access to something like Canva or equivalent, I think that this course would be great. And I'll talk about different ways that we can use programs similar to Illustrator and Photoshop, but I don't think it's a requirement.
Are there other questions that you guys are seeing? Is attendance at all live sessions mandatory for credit? What if someone can't attend 1 or 2 sessions live? We've been kind of trying to figure out the best way to do that. And with the digital certificate, the digital campaigning certificate program that's separate from this, that's a 9-month program that starts also in September. That's 26 sessions, and we are implementing for this next cohort an understanding that to get a certificate, you need to attend at least 75% of the sessions live. And that's because we found that that is just critical to people's learning and not putting things off and not like getting behind and then feeling overwhelmed and losing touch. And so I think that we probably, I don't know, the instructor, we haven't really talked about this, right? Instructor team, but I think that for a 12-session program, that probably for certification, you should plan on being available for 9 of the sessions. We're looking to make this work for folks, but we also want to make sure that the certificate means something. And a lot of what you will get out of this program is the live back and forth and the feedback and the seeing other people's work and hearing that feedback, and that kind of thing isn't going to be recorded. So that's the thought. If you raised a question in the chat and it hasn't been answered, can you retype it? Because any other questions about how much time outside of class time is expected per week? I think we're talking about 2 to 4 hours. What are the fees again? People are asking $650 for the first person from a group. There are a couple of ways of getting a discount, and those are on the landing page. NEO Philanthropy is our fiscal sponsor, but we aren't associated with Just Fair or For Freedoms. Would that qualify us for the reduced rate? It would not, because NEO Philanthropy as a whole has not become an outreach partner. Just those 2 programs have. So what you could do is reach out to your program officer there and ask them, like, we're glad to have a conversation with them. And in fact, we have been having a conversation with some of their staff about encouraging groups to participate in the digital campaigning program. So yeah, I'm sure that, if you want to loop us in or reach out to them, we can try to make that happen. How would you recommend an experienced designer new to labor engaging in the course? 80% plus seems redundant to our training and experience. That's a tough one, right? What do you guys have?
I mean, I think you already know most of the design principles at play. I think having a dedicated space, especially with the teachers here, to be creating designs and having maybe an hour or two a week to be in that space for feedback, it's sort of like back in art school, will definitely up your game, and you'll be creating materials that will be useful to your org. So, and I think mainly the focus there is how does the design integrate in a campaign, not just as a static visual or sort of hanging on a gallery wall, but really being able to be leveraged. Like, let's say you create a shareable, using that in an email program, using that in a petition drop-off, things like that. We'll be talking about integration in campaigns.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. So this is the first time we're running. We're like, this is an experiment, right? This program. But if we look at the digital campaigning certificate program that we've been running now, and what has happened in that is that there are a whole range of people. That there have been 230 participants this year, and some of them are real newbies with digital campaigning, and others are really pretty advanced. And at least some of the advanced people have really felt like it's been very interesting to learn from and listen to and be part of a peer cohort with other people who are also more advanced, right? And to just see what other creative, just like to share stuff, to be part of that kind of community. So that may be useful.
Yeah, just very briefly, I know we have other questions coming in, but it's clear to us there's a depth of experience here across a lot of different mediums and backgrounds. So I think the key here in terms of the apprenticeship is that we'll all be together and learning and providing feedback and learning from each other.
So Natalia's asking, what happens if during the course I realize I cannot fulfill the work requirements and need to withdraw? Could I get a partial refund or move my participation to a future course? Unfortunately, no, because it's a really limited number of seats. And as it is, we're really subsidizing this. So yeah, we won't be able to do refunds. What if I'm not currently an organizer? Am I not eligible to attend? Yeah, so we are trying to create a learning environment which is really made up of people in organizing groups and unions. So you don't need to be an organizer, but you need to be involved in campaigns that are about organizing in some way.
There's a question about animated GIFs. This is an emerging trend. A lot more organizations are using it. I think every presidential candidate ever used an animated GIF in their email sent out in the last week at least. So I will be touching on that in terms of software and exporting and stuff like that, but we won't be taking a deep dive and doing like a screen share on how to create a GIF from scratch. You'll have resources so that you can know where to go to learn that.
Yeah, actually, and speaking of topics that are not in this program, so a big topic that we didn't create a session on, and I've been thinking about maybe we should create a session on it, is creative for advertising campaigns. So especially Facebook ad campaigns, it's increasingly the case that organizing groups need to be doing really smart, kind of using paid ways of getting the messages out and building lists and that kind of thing. And that is a whole topic that's really important. And I think that what we might do is we're planning to develop an apprenticeship program in ad campaigns for organizing in the spring, most likely. And I think one whole session of that will be on creative for ad campaigns. And I'm thinking that we will either create a session for this cohort, an extra session on that, or we will enable you to join that session in that, just that one session in that other apprenticeship program, which is more likely. Do participants in this program get any kind of discount on future SMT programs? No. I have another training program on October 24th and 20th, and would not be able to make those sessions live. Yeah, we don't know if there's going to be another apprenticeship beginning. It just depends what the demand is, right? And also if this instructor team is available or if there's others, you know, but like we don't know. It's not really like the digital campaigning certificate program where we're trying to be pretty intentional about having it run each year so far. How are the 20 participants selected? First, you know, whoever, we have 8 signed up so far and there's 20 seats. So there's some seats left. Also interested in ads training. Yeah, if you're on our list, you'll hear about that. Any other questions? Can you re-explain how to get the discounted rate as part of an outreach partner? My organization is a part of People's Action. So if you get a mass email from People's Action, in this case, letting you know about the training, and then you forward that mass email to us when you register, then we can approve you at the discounted rate. And the idea there is, first of all, we think that supporting networks is useful in movements, right? Networks help build power. So SMT, it's kind of part of our theory of change that we want to be supportive of organizing networks. But the other piece of it is that we're constantly trying to reduce the cost of trainings for movements. So, so the only way we can really do that is by expanding access. Not so much in this case, because it's like limited to 20, but in general, we try to, the more people can participate in the trainings, then the more we can reduce costs for everybody. So that's the idea. And that's why it has to be that an outreach partner does a mass email. They can't just like send you an email that you then forward to us when you know, it has to be a way of really broadening who hears about the training. So the verdict on gifts.
The verdict, dramatic gift making.
Yeah,
is that
I'm also answering this. I mean, it definitely sounds like something we can incorporate in the leveling up portions. So, you know, I think that we can, you know, provide some resources, and you know, based on how many people are interested in doing a little in-depth, you know, live workshop, we might be able to do that.
And we'll have resources, like a list of resources that I'm developing for each session, basically. But that'll be how to create a GIF in Photoshop, and then also if you don't have access to the Adobe Suite, what are some free or very low cost online tools, web apps, things like that you'll be able to create animated materials. Someone asked again recently about the newbie to build learning curve. Is this really useful for a newbie to build learning curve? Marie, do you want to say a word on that again?
Sure. I mean, I think that, you know, I think that we'll be covering both basic and intermediate and some advanced. So I think that, you know, out of every session, you'll be able to get something, and at least in terms of theory and familiarizing yourself with terminology and, you know, particular softwares, I definitely think a newbie would get something from this for sure.
Yeah, I want to say something about that. You know, so we are so excited to offer this because the need for really great graphic design skills is huge. It's so big, and you know, we're only getting more visually oriented, right? Not less. And so what we've seen in the digital campaigning certificate program and in all of our trainings that are more than like a one-off training, like multiple series, is that people get so much out of just being part of a community where you're coming back to it each week. Like if you're a beginner, you could potentially spend a lot of time just delving in, but the encouragement you're going to get by being part of a group like this, where you can hear from other people and you can express what isn't working for you, or where you're having difficulty, and all of that, like that is so rich and so valuable. So I really want to encourage people who are maybe a little daunted by this. I mean, I just think you will get so much out of it. As long as you have a little bit of time that you really can put into it, you will get a lot out of it.